Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight, episode 166, and wanted to talk a little bit about some changes that could be coming to the show. As any of our video viewers could notice, currently Ben's not with me. Hopefully he's going to join us here in a little bit. But that being one of the major changes that is kind of coming to the show, might affect some things. We're not really sure how it's going to go yet. So, that being said, might as well dive right into it. The main point of all of this is that Ben has actually moved locations from over here in Nova Scotia to another part of Canada, and if he comes on, he can disclose what he wants there. The big thing is it's a different time zone than where I'm at here, so that's obviously having a little bit of effect on him being able to join into the shows at our normal time on 8:30. So, that being said, some of the things that could potentially come later on is we may look at changing the time of the shows, or we could do a couple more solo shows, which is something else. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show. Welcome. Greetings from Vegas. Well, you're obviously living a better life than I am at the moment. How's the weather down there, good sir? Up here, it is amazing currently. Anyway, getting back to it. Yeah, so Ben has recently moved. Could change the show a little bit more, just the times and stuff like that. We're still continuing to do the show, or still planning to continue to do the show. We each have some ambitions to do our own personal videos to upload, much like my Basics of Fire that I'm currently working on. Ben has a couple ideas there. So yeah, a couple ideas that we have talked about, and I would like to know what you folks out there think, and kind of what your opinions are, maybe if you have some suggestions and things like that. But we could look at potentially changing the time of the show that's going to work out a little better for both of us. That would most likely be a little later than 8:30 Atlantic Standard Time. For those of you that listen to the audio only through podcasting sources, I'm sure that won't have a great impact on you folks out there, simply because I usually upload the show after the video one airs and all that good stuff. But for those of you that are watching the video side of things, definitely like to hear from you and get your opinions on this. So the other thing that this could potentially be a good thing for us is where it is a little different time zone. This could open us up to being able to do different interviews with people around the world. Where I'm still here at Atlantic Standard Time, I could potentially do some with our normal time bracket, or we could potentially change some of the regular scheduling to whenever would best fit that. And then with Ben in a different time zone, he could potentially take on some guests that might be otherwise not be able to tune into the show or come on to the show as a guest because of work and stuff like that. So exciting things, regardless of how you want to look at this. We have, that being the big change. And like I said, this could potentially open some doors for us. We are not thinking of shutting the show down or anything like that. And I know there was some concern about that in some of the private circles that heard once Ben was moving and all this good stuff that, what was going to happen to the show, how's it going to be handled. And the answer is we're just going to continue on status quo. Steve, low 20s today, hitting mid-30s on the weekend, but back home tomorrow evening. Well, you're coming back at a good time, Steve. Like I said, we got, I don't want to call it a heat wave, but we have above normal temperatures here in Nova Scotia. Today was something like 25 degrees. Super nice. Tomorrow, I think, is supposed to be even warmer again, so we might be into the 25s, 26s. Absolutely beautiful weather we're having here. So, good time, come back. Maybe enjoy the tail end of this. It'd be much like what you are experiencing down there. But yes, so that is the big thing. This is going to be an obviously fairly short show tonight just because this was the planned topic to talk about. The time change between us unfortunately added a little bit more of a variance than we thought it was going to, and that's kind of where this show was going to be an experimental one here, just to see how our times aligned. So I apologize for our regular scheduled people that tune into this. It's not overly exciting, but we will make up for it. We do have some exciting things coming up, and I kind of want to talk about that. Next week, we are looking at bringing Jamie Harris into the show. Hopefully, potentially, if Steve, I suggest we kidnap Ben when he returns to Nova Scotia. We can definitely prep a holding site. You know what? all things fun. Ben, this should be a good change for his life, and he is doing, he's taking steps to improve his, whatever you want to call it. He's hopefully advancing his career and a few other things, so it is a good thing for Ben, and I am not going to take anything away from that on that gentleman. So, but yeah, next week, hopefully we're going to have Jamie Harris come in. He's going to talk a little bit about weatherworking and metalworking. So if anybody doesn't know, Jamie has a company, and I'll see if I can quickly find it here. A little company he's been working on making knives, and I say a little, but he's actually doing quite well for himself, so don't misunderstand if you're listening out there, Jamie. I mean it as a complete compliment. He's been doing some knives, doing leather work, making custom knives, making custom leather sheaths. This leather sheath here that you folks have seen me use with my knife, this was made by Jamie. Amazing work, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for him and the work he does. It's way better than I could ever imagine. Reasonably priced too for what you're getting out of it. So I hope you folks out there will tune in next week when we have Jamie on the show. He's going to talk a little bit about that. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Jamie, you should definitely figure them out. Keep them in your head. Join us for the live show and ask away. Or if you can't join the live show and you listen to us via audio, by all means, send us those questions in. You can contact us on the AtlanticBushcraft.ca website. You can do our Facebook page, YouTube, and leave a comment. Whatever you need to do to get that message over to us, by all means. And we will be more than happy to ask that to Jamie. He is going to hopefully give us a wealth of knowledge on metalwork. I'm sure he'll keep it kind of general. We're not expecting him to tip any of the trade secrets for how he does some of the stuff that he does. But hopefully we'll learn a little bit about knife making, just metalwork in general, working with, heat treating and tempering and all that good stuff, sharpening maybe, and of course the letterwork, how you can get into doing some of the real neat designs that you can see on my knife case there. Like, it's absolutely just beautiful work he does. And that's where I'm going to start questioning him, because I'm really interested in the leather work. The metal work, of course, I'm interested in as well, but I'm really excited to start talking to Jamie about his leather work, and I'm going to have a plethora of questions on that. Now, let's see. I believe if I can find his website here, or his Facebook page, because he does have a Facebook page. And if I can find it, I'm definitely going to put it up next week, and I'll have it before then, but I was hoping I could find it here. But for whatever reason, my internet is acting incredibly slow and kind of just being a general butt. So that might not actually come to fruition for whatever reason here. Why is this doing this to me? Oh, I know why. Facebook changed some stuff here, and now it's trying to get me to interact as Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures instead of my personal account. So all good stuff. So, let's see here. Yeah, if you just check him out at Nova Scotia Bushcraft, I don't want to give too much of his information away. He can do that next week. I'm seeing he's not publicly putting out his stuff, so I'll leave that to him. And definitely go to the Nova Scotia Bushcraft Facebook group if you have the availability to do so. Just do a quick search for Jamie Harris in there, and you're going to see some of his work. He's always got something good on the go. I strongly recommend that you check it out. Now, otherwise, we do have a couple other ideas potentially coming up. Through the ABA Facebook page, we had a gentleman reach out to us, and I'm just going to grab his name here to make sure I get it right. His name is... My goodness, this is acting slow here tonight. But anyway, name is Mark Monroe, and he was hopefully going to come on in a not too distant episode as well. And we're going to talk about first bushcrafting adventures, which I think is a actually pretty exciting topic. You've heard Ben and I chat a lot about our random adventures and memorable adventures and things like that, but some of the first experiences we had. And Ben and I chatted about this really quickly. And I don't know if we can remember the very first bushcrafting experience we had, but I can definitely remember some of the firsts for some of the things I experienced out there. I can remember the first time I stayed out in the winter I can remember the first time I stayed at the waterfalls. Like, I can remember some firsts like that and some interesting things that came up with that. So I'm hoping those stories will work as well. We're definitely going to talk to Mark and get his first because he does remember a lot of them and he's super excited to talk about it. So if you're listening to us, Mark, expect a message here very shortly. We'll try and line you up. I know Jamie is coming on the 18th, so we'll look forward to that, see if we can get you scheduled in before too long. And another person that I'd like to try and hit up on the show, and I've talked to him numerous times in the past, we've mentioned his name and stuff like that, and that's Mark Young. Now, Mark has said he would like to come on to the show. It's just a scheduling thing now. He's a very busy man, as we all are, of course, and it's just trying to get the time to cross with the podcast. His Wednesday night is not typically his most free night, so we may have to look at maybe offsetting the show for that night or looking at a different time or something that works better for him, because I'd really like to get him on here. Mark Young is an amazing individual that does a lot of stuff with DIY. So he's made a lot of his own stoves. He has a ton of great ideas. He has his own YouTube channel, and I strongly recommend you folks go out there and check him out. I think you can just type in Mark Young into YouTube, and it should bring something up there, Mark Young Bushcraft, and you're going to get a lot of good information from there as well. Now, that all being said, once again, reaching out to you folks, give us some ideas on what you would like us to hear on this podcast. I'd really like to start reaching out to more individuals to come on to the podcast. As much fun as it is for Ben and I to do this podcast just between the two of us, I'm sure you folks out there are starting to get a little tired of just hearing us kind of ramble back and forth, though I do know that's our thing. However, I would still like to get more and more people coming onto the show and having to speak off their own. That way you're getting a more variety, a broader look into the bushcrafting community. And that's not necessarily meaning that all our opinions are going to agree. I'm hoping they're going to be different because that's what makes for very interesting conversation. So definitely, if you guys have ideas on things you'd like to talk about, I can go out there and try and find individuals that quote-unquote specialize in any specific area. That way we can take them in as, an expert for their field. I know, holy Department of Redundancy, Department Batman. But yeah, much like in the past, we've taken Gary in to talk about fishing. I have another buddy of mine that I'm thinking about maybe taking in closer to next hunting season. Once again, Mark and Jamie and the other Mark. There's a couple other individuals I'm going to reach out to, and I don't want to say their names just in case they want to say no, because they're kind of more private-y individuals. And I'm definitely going to put the extension out there and hope they come on, but they may decline it as well because, once again, they're kind of private and they don't want to do a whole lot there. But that's their choice, and I'm not going to push the matter if they say no. But if you folks have ideas, I'd love to hear them. Once again, AtlanticBushcraftAdventures.ca. You can go to the Contact Us page. I think there should be Facebook Messenger automatically pops up in the corner, and you can shoot us a message. You can email us at podcast@AtlanticBushcraft.ca. You can hit us up on YouTube. You can leave comments on one of our podcasting distribution nodes. There's tons of ways to get a hold of us, and that's what we like you folks out there to do. Definitely get a hold of us. Give us some ideas on things you'd like to hear instead of us just making up a topic every week, unless that's your thing. If you just like us grabbing a topic, kind of rambling on about it, with, hopefully some good information, maybe some learning experiences behind it, then we can continue to do that. But honestly, I'd really love to hear from you folks and see what you want. We are a little better than 3 years into this now, and definitely would like to get some input, in all honesty. I know we have our regulars that come in the chat here and stuff like that. And we do have a few people that have contacted us by email, and we've had great chats. We've had individuals like Paul Schnurr on in the past, which gave us a lesson in fire science. Was that cool? Was that not cool? Is that something you want to hear again? Is that something you want us to avoid? I have gotten a few emails on that, but same thing. We love to hear from you and just get ideas on where you'd like us to go with this. And not for any reason. It's not that I don't think we're failing and all that good stuff. It's just, it's input time. You know what I mean, folks? We do this for you. We do this because we enjoy it, and we want to make sure that we are getting the information you folks want to hear out there to you. If it's something we're doing that you would rather see it do different, by all means, let us know that too. But at the same time, keep in mind, we kind of like to stay true to the ABA pattern here where, we're just going to do our podcast, speak our minds. We're generally pretty open-minded, as you folks can realize or have realized. We're not really going to try and look for sponsorships at this point and become brand loyal to one side or the other, because that has been suggested to us. You should contact XYZ company and see if they'll send you stuff. The problem with doing stuff like that, which we have learned from other people that have done it in the bushcrafting community, is once you get a sponsorship like that, say for instance they're sending you tents and sleeping bags and all that good stuff, then they kind of expect you to do a good review on them. And honestly, we're all about truth. We want to make sure that we're giving the most honest opinion, and there's no even inkling of us potentially favoring something over something else. Not to mention straight up gear reviews and stuff. We've only done a couple of them through the channel, and I know you folks have stated that you would like to see some more gear reviews, but I don't know if that's going to be a podcasting thing, like on the podcasting side of stuff, or if that would be better suited to us doing individual videos for it. Once again, if you folks have any input on that, let us know. Would you like us to do some live reviews on items? But honestly, I kind of find like that's the topics we talk about. For instance, if somebody was to send us a knife, we've done a topic on knives. And if we just get into repeatedly reviewing knives or repeatedly reviewing sleeping bags and stuff like that, I feel like it could potentially become boring to you folks after a while. But maybe not. Maybe that's exactly what you folks want. I don't know. And that's where we're really reaching out for you, is to get a few ideas and stuff and just see where you'd like us to go. Because honestly, Ben and I, we can talk. As you can tell, I've been talking by myself for a little over 16 minutes now. And we can chat. We have no problems chatting about anything you folks want to hear from us. But at the same time, we don't want to waste your time if it's a topic you guys have absolutely no relation to. And honestly, we base our topics off how individual shows do. And a little bit into that is we look on YouTube, see what the most viewed shows are live, because you can count the views and stuff like that on there, and we try to pick topics that relate to whatever got us our highest views, because we figure that's what you folks want to hear. And we do that also with the podcasting network there. We upload to a single distribution center, and it uploads to a bunch of other distribution centers. So every month or so, I go on and try and track them down individually and see which episodes are historically doing the best. And funny enough, what tracks well on YouTube doesn't always track well on podcasts. So obviously there's a little contrast there. And we'd like to hear from you folks there to see if you would prefer us do different things live as versus potentially doing individual things in the audio. Not many do live reviews. Let's see. Real Big Monkey 1. So Dave, not many do live reviews. You could be the first, and it's great because we can ask questions live and you can show us them directly on the product. And once again, if that's what you folks out there want, by all means, we don't mind doing stuff like that. We just, honestly, my opinion was the review market was always saturated. And maybe it's not. Maybe that's just me making an assumption that's not there. I just didn't know if there would be any interest for us to do something like that. And we love to have ideas on products to review, if that is something you want us to go down that path to. But once again, we do this because we love it. We want to hear from you folks. We want to know what you folks want to hear from us. And I know it kind of sounds like I'm beating a dead horse on that one, but that's the only way I can really explain it. Is Ben and I can sit on here and we can chat via, what do we use? We use Google something or other here. As you can tell, the technological terms are coming out. And good point, Dave. Video reviews are saturated. Live reviews don't exist. And that is a good point, in all honesty. I can't remember many live reviews that I've done. I guess the next question to follow that up would be, how would we get that information out to you folks so you could join us more accurately? Would you like us to see the shows come on earlier? Would you like to see them come on later? Would you like the shows to be shorter? I don't know if anybody wants them to be longer, but that option's always out there too. For our normal ramblings, I mean, we try to shoot between a half hour and an hour. Sometimes we're a little over, obviously, because we start delving down rabbit holes and we've never made any qualms that we don't do that. We're very aware that we sometimes go off on tangents, and that's just kind of what we felt some of the charm of Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures was, because we're not in this to make money. We've said that in the past. We're in here just because we enjoy it. We love getting the information across, and we love to talk to you folks out there. That's kind of what this project was all about when I started it with Ben, was just to meet people, networking, get our information out there in the hopes that other people would contact us with their information, because we are here, Atlantic Canada. We have had listeners contact us from all over the globe, and it's real interesting to hear how they do stuff in their neck of the woods, and just some of the stories and the appreciation from hearing some of our rambles. And frankly, we've had a couple people just say, hey guys, this was completely boring, I hated this topic, and that's fine too. I mean, we can handle constructive criticism. I mean, if we're just not your thing in general, by all means, that's cool too. You don't have to, be overly rude. We have had one or two of those, but it is what it is. I think when you do kind of stuff like this, there's always going to be a field out there of people that just want to be belligerent for the sake of being belligerent, and I think that's one of the things that happens when you take on this kind of interaction, talking to a camera to people that are usually behind a keyboard and don't actually have to show any kind of they just don't have to show their face. They don't have to be responsible for it. But I mean, that is social media in a nutshell, is it not? And that's kind of what it's all about. So I personally think it's part of the fun. Not that I'm asking you folks to, bombard us with negative stuff, because I mean, at a certain point it stops being fun, don't get me wrong. But if there is something individually like, oh, hey, this topic was really bad. I know this show here is not going to be the most interesting one on the planet, but it is a lot of stuff we've been talking about. We had to get that stuff across to you folks. Maybe post the intended product across your social media sites ahead of time so folks know to tune in for a particular product. And that's cool too. But what is the best social media sites for you folks out there to for us to give you that information? I mean, our general format is we post some stuff out on Facebook and YouTube. Is that still the in thing? Ben and I are not the most technologically advanced people on the planet. Should we be on a different social media? I know we have a Twitter, we have a Instagram, but we don't use it as much as these other products, and maybe we should be. I know the new one out there is what's it called? It's the one with the short videos. That's how bad I am, honestly. Is that Ben coming through to us? It might be potential. Let's see. So that was Ben. He's probably not going to join us tonight at all. His new job seems to be securing him ever so slightly, so that's probably just more of an indication that we may end up offsetting the time a little bit. TikTok, that's the one. Thanks, Dave. Now I actually feel a little embarrassed for not being able to remember that. But TikTok, is that something we should be going on to? Like, I don't know much about it, but it's something I'm definitely willing to learn if that's something you folks would have some interest in. I know it's generally shorter videos. Is that the new happening thing? Should we be doing short videos? I don't know. What do you folks think? But once again, I'm going to keep this a nice short episode. I was hoping I'd kill enough time for Ben to jump on. He figured he might be on around 9 my time. He just messaged me, said it's going to be at least another half hour, so there is no way I can try and pull this out for another 30 minutes, just because I believe it would become very long-winded and boring for you folks, as well as I would just start repeating stuff, as you folks know I can do in the past. So yeah, definitely the whole point of this episode, let you know things are brewing, things are changing, and we're going to take that as potentially an opportunity to grow the podcast. Now that we do have the separate time zones, maybe we can make that work for us to pull different interviews in. We're just not sure what you folks would like us to do when it comes to talking. If you give us an idea of that, like Dave said here, maybe we can do some live product reviews. We can definitely reach out. Now we have the availability that we can do it maybe later in Atlantic Standard Time, but I know that's going to affect a lot of our Nova Scotia users, but potentially Ben can do it later on his end, which might be better for some of our overseas viewers. I know there's people from Norway and Ireland and a few other places that I've talked to through our messaging systems, And they would love to catch a live show. Problem is, it's always so late by the time they get off work local time, so they're getting off 5 their time. It's like 10 o'clock my time, that the show's usually over and they have no chance to view it. But maybe now, with the time differential between Ben and I, we can do something there where we can run a later show. And he could spearhead that, or if you want an earlier show, maybe I can spearhead that. It's entirely up to you folks. We're rolling it over to you. Give us some suggestions. However, as I said earlier, next week it's going to be Jamie Harris. Be sure to jump back on with us. And I'm going to be doing quite a bit of advertising for that one to try and get as many of you folks on board to join us live, because I think it's just going to be an absolute wealth of knowledge. I'm already jotting up some questions, and I'm hoping we're going to get a lot out of that. So, RM Shoots. Hey all, just got home from work. I feel like your current topic is pretty relevant. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, some people are just getting home at 9 now, so maybe we can move the episode ahead, or like I said, Ben can do something. Definitely want to hear from you. Get some ideas. As I said, join us next week with Jamie Harris. Whoo, that was a mouthful for some reason. I don't know why it was so hard to get out. And think of some questions for him. He does awesome leather work, awesome metal work. If you are interested in diving down either of those paths, this guy can definitely give you some pointers and some basic, I'm not going to say basic instruction, because it's not going to be a how-to. It's going to be more of a Q&A, because I'm definitely going to be asking some questions. But yeah, we'll see you next week. That is May 18th, I believe. But definitely pay attention to our social medias, be it Facebook, Instagram, and all those, and see what the time is going to be. Now that we've had this experiment since Ben has relocated, we know the times aren't working out 100% great. We're definitely going to do something there. Maybe we'll start at 9, our local time. Hard to say. What do you folks think? See you next week, everybody.